I could not do this work without working with citizens in the community, working with other citizens in other environmental groups, and just knowing that there are so many good people behind the scenes.
We came to make a change.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to How to Not Lose Your Shit. I'm LaFonda Cousin, a part-time yoga instructor, self-care advocate, and the chief people officer here at Red, Wine, and Blue.
And I'm Katie Paris, the founder of Red, Wine, and Blue, which, by the way, we are an organization of more than 500,000 diverse women working to change the world together. At Red, Wine, and Blue, we help women organize in their local communities and make meaningful connections, even in this moment of political chaos.
This week, I talked to Cathy and Annette, two women in Ohio who have been working to stop an AI data center in their neighborhood. Data centers are becoming an issue around the country, but I think a lot of us don't know that much about what a data center is, why it's a problem. So I'm glad we got a chance to hear from Cathy and Annette because it was very informative to me. Did a little Googling yesterday. I'll probably do a little more research because I hear about data centers. There's so many going up. I think Cathy said there's 118 right now in central Ohio. And so it was really helpful for me to learn why this is an issue and what they are doing to sort of push back a little bit on this. So what did you get from this conversation, Katie?
Well, I mean, talk about a moment of chaos. Like, to me, the velocity with which these AI data centers are being built throughout our communities, oftentimes completely unbeknownst to the people they're going to directly impact. Like, it's chaotic. It's overwhelming. You combine that with the fact that, these are coming in to power AI, which I think that we as people, humans, moms, trying to parent right now and understand the role of our AI in our lives and our kids' lives. Like, it's overwhelming. Pair that with the fact that I didn't even know about an AI data center, like, for real. And I mean, I definitely didn't a year ago. I can't remember exactly when I started hearing about them, but now I hear about them all the time.
Yeah.
And so as chaotic and overwhelming as this issue seemed, I'm so glad. And like, you did such a great job of this interview, and I'm grateful to you for doing it because I think it's something that we all need to know about. And one of the things that stuck out most to me about the interview was, here I am thinking like, oh, are our listeners going to be like overwhelmed by this? Like, maybe they haven't heard much about it either yet. But what Cathy said, and she is the one of the two who has actually been engaged in politics and advocacy and stuff like that, is that she said she didn't know anything about this issue not that long ago. And so to me, it was such a reminder that you do not have to be an expert to get involved in really any issue. And boy, you can see the passion that they brought to this issue because it was hitting their community. And now they are so impassioned to help people in other communities understand what's going on too. But I just thought that was really cool that she was like, I didn't know about this either. But like, if you want to figure out what to do, just like learn by doing, jump in, find other people just like we found each other. And it's like that pattern again and again. It's like, no matter how chaotic or intimidating, there's always a way in by working together and just understanding that you don't have to know it all to get started.
Yeah. Hearing other people talk about it actually makes you want to go and learn more. This is going to sound real crazy, maybe a little bit ignorant. Like, I don't know, like, you're right. A year ago, I had not heard the term data centers often, if at all. AI has sort of crept up on us, right? Like, we knew what AI was, but now it's a part of our everyday lives. It's a part of everyday conversations about the ethics of it and where it comes from and its environmental impact and its social impact. So we're talking about it more and more. And in terms of like data centers, I don't know that it ever really occurred to me that like all of this has to come from somewhere, right? Like, how are we
that there wasn't
creating
just
these
like
things?
energy up in the sky that was like being zapped into your phone or computer. And that's how
This is not coming from my MacBook. It is coming from a giant building
Yeah.
with lots and lots of servers. there's so much energy running, and that energy comes from somewhere, and that, they have to be cooled, and that water comes from somewhere. And this was just not a conversation I would have been a part of a year ago. And so having this conversation with Cathy and Annette was really informative to me. Hopefully it was informative to everyone else listening, because it makes me want to do a lot more research and to understand, are there AI data centers going up near me? How is that going to have an impact on, I live just outside of Dallas, and it's a pretty rural area where I am right now. There's lots of warehouses and that kind of thing, which in my mind feels really ripe for an AI data center.
100%.
So I'm wanting to do some research. Are there things going up near where I am? That's not a conversation I would have been a part of or even thought about a year ago, 6 months ago. So,
and once you start learning about it, I mean, some of these facts are alarming, that a single data center powering AI can, be using as much electricity as a small city. And the fact that, way too often the people who live in these areas are being asked to foot the bill and to bear that potential health burden, environmental burden. And as alarming as that is, and as fast as this all is happening, what does give me some faith and really motivates me to support women however we can organizing out there is that people are pushing back. I mean, there are new examples every day of communities coming together and saying no to this in their community, saying this is bad for our community, our environment, our kids. We can't have this, and they are winning. So a lot of it is like knowing this is going on and raising those alarm bells. And, listen, Annette and Cathy pointed out that this can be hard work to track what was going on in their community and to fight this. They do have to go to pretty much every city hall meeting. They do need to track what is going on in the committee meetings. But they also said, no way can any one of us do that alone. And that's where the group comes in. That's where that sense of community, the relationships.
Yeah.
These women didn't know each other before they got involved on this issue, but they had heard about each other. Now they've become friends. And what they said is that, if I can't go, she can, or someone else we're working with can. And we hear that over and over, that no one is side-eyeing anybody because they need to take a little time out, because they've got something else going on in their lives. Of course you have something else going on in your life.
Yeah.
It feels like there's so much grace always given. And I think that's such a core tenet to how women are organizing, giving each other grace, expressing our gratitude really often. That's how we keep going. Otherwise, it is just not sustainable. And the whole strategy of wearing us out will work. But why it doesn't work again and again is because women know how to support each other. And that is just a freaking beautiful thing.
Yeah. And it's happening so fast. I think Cathy said that. It's like the legislation gets pushed through so quickly, they build them so fast. You can't possibly do all the things all the time, be in all the places. And that's why the community is important. That's why the groups are important. That's why having people around you who can pick up the ball and run when you need a break, that's why it's important, because you can't be in all the places. And we have so many things that are issues right now. And if this is the thing that, is the issue that you are fighting, or the issue that's important to you, that community around you that's also working to push back on this is important, because you can't be there all the time.
It's so true, and it has such a direct parallel to everything else in our life. Okay, so my husband was out of town last weekend, and it was one of those classic weekends with the kids, right? There was birthday parties, there were soccer games, there was, I don't know, I can't even remember the rest of it now. There were a lot of places to go. There were a lot of rides needed. And it was just too much. I had a lot going on. And I sent 2 texts, to other parents. And I was just hey, are you going to this thing? Do you? And before I could even ask, it was we'll pick him up or drop him off at our house. We can save you that 30 minutes each way. Isn't it the same thing? It takes a village to just get through our day-to-day personal lives, just in the exact same way that it takes a village to stand up for our values in our communities. It's really all the same thing. So again, it's whenever I hear anyone say well, I've never done that before, I'm not equipped to do that. It's yes, you are. and sometimes we're not good about asking for help as women, right?
Very true.
So this is just another opportunity to flex those muscles. It's something I'm trying to get better at. So, what's good for the soul is good for your community, is good for the world.
And it's always interesting because you say, I'll help anyone. I'll help if you just ask me, but then you don't want to ask other people.
Right.
It's so crazy.
Oh my God, we have to remember that all the time. I know, right? When your friend asks you for help, you're like, oh my God, she loves me. I'm such a good friend. Please ask me anytime. I love helping you out, girl. And then you're like, I need help. And it's like,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but I'm telling you, I did it. I totally did it because I was just completely strapped with all the juggling last weekend. And it felt so good. And I felt more connected to the friends who helped out. And like, I'm going to have their back next time they need it. That's how all this works fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's bring in Annette and Cathy.
With everything else going on, I can't believe we have to keep addressing this, but there's been a new development with the SAVE Act, and it's not good. The bill, which could prevent millions of Americans from voting, looked all but dead a week ago when Senate leadership said they didn't have the 60 votes needed to pass it. But now, Trump is saying he won't sign any bills, even those that fund the government, until the Senate passes this horrible attempt at mass voter suppression. And extremists are pressuring senators to change the Senate rules to pass the SAVE Act with just 51 votes. If you click on the link in show notes, we can help you write to your U.S. senators. Red, White, and Blue members have rallied to stop the SAVE Act before, and we can do it again.
Today, I am joined by two women in Ohio who have been defending their community against AI data centers. Annette and Cathy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Could we just start by saying like what data centers are and why this conversation is an important conversation?
So in general, I would say like data centers are facilities, right? Like large buildings that house a lot of computers. That's just in general, like the high level. And a lot of companies are putting them out there, like Amazon, Microsoft, and a plethora of others. What we have found in our town is that once a data center comes in and they start requesting additional power, that's when we as a city lose control over what happens at the location. And then it jumps to state and federal regulations. So at the data center that I live closest to, it started out as 8 buildings, and now they're putting in what we consider a gas power plant because there's 228 fuel cells. So that's going to generate maybe like 15% of the energy there, but that's emitting so much CO2 and along with other toxins. So this data center came in, again, originally the buildings with just the computer chips, but now it's becoming such a huge air pollution problem in my neighborhood, next to my child's school, and literally abutting a playground.
A general data center can use as much power as a small city, like hundreds of megawatts. And so that's why, with data centers coming all over Columbus, Ohio is the 5th largest state for data centers, and they are especially in central Ohio, which is where we are. There's well over 100, either already built or in the pipeline, even more in the pipeline. And so that's why this area is extremely concerned about energy use, because each one of them, it's like adding a small city of energy needs, not to mention the huge amount of water needs, millions of gallons to cool these servers. These, in your laptop, you probably notice there's a fan that runs to keep it cool. Well, just multiply that exponentially inside a data center, and they use water to keep that cool. So that is a concern as well. But right here in Hilliard, it's power is the concern.
Most people, I think, from a blanket perspective, know it takes a lot of water, right? Like that's what I hear most of the time is water. And so I don't think people always understand what a major environmental impact data centers have, especially when they're going up so close to people's homes and in neighborhoods, and what impact those have on the people that live in those places. Annette, when did you first realize they were being built in your neighborhood, and what's going on with them right now?
So I've been in the neighborhood for 4 years, and I found out about it, I would say, right after I moved into the neighborhood, because the city was doing construction in the area. It used to be just farmland, like a big plot of hundreds of acres of farmland, and slowly started building the buildings. Then this past September, so September 2025, is when my neighbors started hearing about permit changes and in city hall meetings that were about the fuel cells that might be coming in. And so that's when all of us were like, wait a minute, this is not just a data center. This is now elevating to a power plant. And like, what else is coming in? And then in December, I found out that, again, these diesel generators that are used for backup emergency use, they themselves, if they get turned on, are massively, again, going to pollute the air. This is not minor. Anything that's coming with the data center is elevating in severity. It's just like every month I feel like I find out about something else, and it's another concern.
And that's happening still right now. Where are you in this conversation, in this fight right now?
So at the moment, there is a pending EPA case that I'm involved in, and so is the city, about the approval of the fuel cells. And after that, there is a hearing for the diesel generators, March 19, so in a few weeks. So for now, it looks like the buildings are built. Like on the outside, they look like they're built. On the inside, I don't believe anyone really knows unless they're an Amazon worker, possibly maybe AEP or maybe the city, but I'm not even sure about that. So as of now, the fuel cells are possibly going to be built starting this month even, but come live in September 2027. So that's kind of the time frame. Like right now, we're still in this, like they're not live, but they're becoming built.
And the data center is directly on the other side of the fence from a park where your kids play. How does it feel to have something that's so huge and personal affecting your family in such a direct way?
Yeah, it's just wild. Like when we moved in, like I said, it was a open farmland, like deer. I could see deer coming from those, like crossing, the woods, because there's like a little path of woods, and we would see deer in the playground. Now that's all fenced off. There's a bunch of trees that have been taken down. There was a pond that was taken out, right? Again, all the water removed. So there's a lot of stuff that was done to make the buildings become viable, right, for this data center. And it's really weird to have my children play at this playground, like at the play structure. And literally anytime I take a picture, the data center's behind it. Like that's what it looks like constantly. And the air pollution is my biggest concern. Like the CO2, the other list of toxins that are going to be coming out, that doesn't exist there today. Like today, the air quality does not have these toxins in it. So within a year, it's going to be worse.
I can imagine going from like taking my kids to the park and there being like this beautiful land with deer and water, and now there's just like a giant building. Cathy, you've been political and doing political advocacy for a while, and Annette, this is a more recent thing for you. What has inspired both of you to get involved?
I actually live in a different neighborhood in Hilliard that has a different Amazon data center across the street. And so I've been terrified that something like this would happen here. But I'm also a co-founder of an organization in Ohio called Save Ohio Parks, which was a bunch of citizens came together after the legislature passed a law mandating fracking of Ohio's state parks and public lands. Ohio's the only state to frack its own state parks. So we started a citizens group on this. And so I've been following state legislation. And we saw a piece of legislation last year that had some good things in it. It repealed a coal plant bailout that had been on the books in Ohio for several years that environmental groups have been trying to get repealed for quite some time. But there was also a process inserted to fast track a major energy facility to power a large energy user behind the meter. And so when you translate all that, the clear intent was to fast track gas plants from all this fracking and use that gas to power data centers. That power doesn't go on the grid. It powers directly. It's like a private source of power. And so this bill, which is now law, sets up a process to approve that in just 45 days, in just 6 weeks. No notification of, the community, no public, like the standard process takes months, if not years. None of that happens in this very expedited process that's only 45 days. So people aren't even really told. Maybe a few people who live like literally within a few hundred feet, maybe they're told, but generally the community doesn't know. And in this case, there wasn't even a vote of the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. Normally on a big power plant, there is a vote. Well, it got what's called automatic approval, which means the PUCO didn't object, and so it just got permitted. And so it was permitted and had a air permit from the Ohio EPA before most people knew what was happening. And I saw this in this legislation, and I was afraid frankly, for the data center across the street from my house getting one of these. And so I testified several times. I worked with a legislator on that committee to try to get more local input or at least get a longer time frame. They were not able to get that. And so then almost immediately after this bill became law, this fuel cell was announced in Hilliard, like exactly what I told them would happen when I testified. It happened. So now I'm, I'm hearing about a lot of data center fights around the state. And basically, if I find out about one and it's still in the planning stages, the data center hasn't been approved, I send in testimony and tell them, be really careful what you wish for, because it might look like this is going to bring in a lot of money for your schools and so forth. But once that's approved, they can put in a gas plant and you will have no jurisdiction. Local officials will have no say. You're probably not even going to be told. So, that's where we are in Ohio right now.
And you referenced a number, or one of you referenced a number earlier. You said there were more than 100 around the state. What was that number that you referenced earlier? More than 100 around the state?
Oh, gosh, I have to go look it up on the data center map, but it's like 118 data centers in Ohio, in central Ohio right now.
Just in central Ohio.
Just in the central Ohio region. Yeah, it is a big,
That's insane.
It is a big deal here in a lot of communities, and a lot of communities are getting a lot of citizen pushback.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of the suburbs and the villages in the area, people are really pushing back, and in some cases able to stop a data center.
Well, that's good. That's an insane, as you were talking, I was thinking about that's an insane number, especially for such a small area. Annette, what about you? What inspired you to get involved?
So I heard about, knew about the data center, heard about the fuel cells from a neighbor. So really my biggest thing is our neighborhood is so wonderful. And I feel like such a sense of community. We do talk to each other, like what's going on. And with that, I would say I've always had an environmental eye, in the sense of like part of environmental club in high school, part of that in college, try to do as much as I can, living with, 3 kids and having a household, trying to be as eco-conscious as possible. And with that, when I heard again about the air quality suffering, was like a huge red flag for me. And I started to reach out to organizations like the Ohio Environmental Network, Buckeye Environmental, Save Ohio Parks. I think there's so many organizations out there that are fighting these things, but it's just hard to get linked up with them, if that makes sense. Or even so many Facebook organizations and coalitions. I've joined maybe by now at least 20. So like I just also try to join as many groups to get the word out there, because I think we are all in this together. And I think it is going to be a strength in numbers, right? Because these organizations are corporations or even politicians. They kind of have the power. But again, we really hold the power as people that can make change. So I think just getting the information out there, sharing like what we went through, what worked, what didn't work, that's kind of what inspired me, because I found other organizations that are also in this fight. And I'm like, how can I help? And then how can I help the next person?
And you two, so you met through this initiative, right? Like, so you two didn't know each other before you started working together on this issue. And I'd like to hear more about how your community relationships, like we talked about before, this podcast is a lot about how community is helping us not lose our shit, how community is helping us continue the fight forward. And I'd like to hear more about how your community relationships are helping you sort of stay in and do this difficult work.
Cathy, do you remember when we met exactly?
I think it was at the Buckeye Environmental Network workshop on how communities can work together to fight back, and I had heard your name and saw you were coming, so was definitely wanted to meet you there. and
Right. And then Cathy's name was thrown out to me, I would say like so many times in emails, right? Like when I contacted someone, they're like, oh, Cathy, have you heard of her? And I was like, I've heard of her. And I think I emailed you, but I never met you in person. And then
Right.
at that meeting, which was wonderful, by the way. So I'm so glad I was invited to attend.
We are really up against a lot here in Ohio. The oil and gas industry is very dominant in this legislature, and it's a very gerrymandered legislature, as I'm sure your viewers and listeners probably know. And we are going up against it, and they are a very wealthy industry. I could not do this work without regularly working with others, working with citizens in the community, working with other citizens in other environmental groups, and just knowing that there are so many good people behind the scenes that are just working really hard, spending a lot of their time and energy to change things, to make the world better, to make the environment cleaner and healthier, and also, work for people, help the people that live in the environment as well. And so that's just really what keeps me going, is just knowing that there are all these people out there, and I want to be part of that. And this is a long haul fight. This is not going to be solved tomorrow.
Yeah. I love hearing that the community that you've built not only is helping you make the connections, get more information, do more for the fight itself, but it's also just helping you stay a little bit sane, I guess. What would you say to listeners who are worried about AI data centers being built in their area?
I mean, I think just getting civically engaged is important. I would say September also 2025 is when I really started going to city hall meetings and listening to what are they talking about? What are they planning? What's in their agenda? And I know that not everyone can go. I know there's a lot of things, people are busy, but having even a coalition, right? Like if I can't go, I know Cathy's gone. Or if Cathy can't go, someone else can go, right? And send notes. So getting engaged and hearing about it, because it's almost impossible to know everything that's happening because there's so much. There's EPA permits, there's city zoning permits, there's so much going through that it's so hard for one person to take ownership of it. So I think joining a group or some type of organization will ease that pressure off of you and kind of have other people kind of for support. So that's what I've enjoyed about the support from others, because I sometimes need a timeout because it does get overwhelming of like, oh, the negative and the anxiety. So I've had to take a timeout and then I regroup and then I get back in.
Yeah, I was pretty much going to say the same thing. Just get engaged. If you can't attend a city hall meeting, they usually put their agendas online, but know about what's coming before it happens so that you can weigh in during the decision-making process. And the more local that you can weigh in, the more influence you have. I've worked with several cities and city governments around Central Ohio, Columbus, Grove City, Hilliard, and your voice goes a lot farther there than obviously my voice didn't carry the day on the state level. So there you have to have, more resources. If you find out they're considering a data center, talk to them about this and tell them why how this would affect you and how this would affect the environment, and definitely let them know that they will not have jurisdiction if the data center decides to put in a gas plant of some sort.
And what about those people that are like, I don't know enough. Like, I'm not sure exactly what a data center is. I'm not sure what the impact is. I'm just going to sit this one out because I'm not really sure. I don't know what all of these things are. How do they learn more about what a data center is, what that impact might be to them personally, what the impact is to the environment, what the impact might be to their neighborhood? How do they find out more about data centers so they know how to get involved?
Well, you can learn by doing. People think I know a lot, and at this point I do know a lot, but I've learned it all by doing it, by just jumping in there. And then once you start hearing things and picking things up, that tells you where to look for more information. And every time you learn a piece of information, then that points the way to where you can look for more information. And before you know it, you do know what's going on.
And I think even just being informed about it, even if you don't take specific action right away, that is important. So again, like it's sometimes on the news, right? It's sometimes in other just articles that maybe you're subscribed to. Just hearing about it and knowing about it, I think is the first step.
Yeah. I think I've learned just so much just listening to the two of you today. So I think that's a first step too. Just listening to people who know a little bit more about it than you do, because I'm going to do a little Googling when we get off of this podcast. I'm not going to lie. So this podcast is called How to Not Lose Your Shit, and the environment, billionaires, and AI are just a few of the things we're losing our shit about right now. What helps the two of you get through it?
Taking breaks is for me. I think like just having like that decompression time where I'm like, let me just focus on this book, right? Because that's what I do to relax, or just even TV show with my husband. Or timing myself out too. So instead of going down those rabbit holes, because I usually do most of my work on this between 9 p.m. and midnight, which is like good and bad, right? Because then you can't fall asleep. So I just have to give myself like a timeout, right? Like if I do that too much, then okay, give myself like 2-3 days break and then restart. So just knowing your limits, because you also don't want to burn out, because you can. So that's kind of my thing. It's just like taking a couple breaks when I need it for that escape, and then jumping back in, because I do think, as Cathy said, this is really like a long game. You might not win today, but hopefully you might win tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds cliche, but I just try to eat right and exercise, get my workout. My workouts are really critical. I go get a massage every now and then, because that's really helps me keep going. And just if you really are at the end, you know, really low on energy and at the end of your rope right then, just step back, because this is a long haul, and just do something else for a while. Go get a walk or a workout or get some sleep. Sometimes it's hard to get enough sleep.
Yeah. Not cliche at all. Those are my favorite way. Like step away, take a minute and take a nap. It's my favorite way to step away from things. Napping is my favorite way to self-care. I'm not going to lie. So I appreciate the information, and I'm sure our listeners will too. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you. Appreciate it.
How to Not Lose Your Shit is a podcast from Red, Wine, and Blue. It's hosted by Katie Paris and LaFonda Cousin, and produced by Amy Thorstensen. To learn more about Red, Wine, and Blue, you can find us on social media, on the Red, Wine, and Blue app, or on our website at redwine.blue.
Look around, there's something going down, but we're looking up. No matter how they try to take us down, we're gonna keep it up. We move with confidence, we're making a difference wherever we are. Good trouble is not too far. We've got the fire, we've got the grit, through the thick of it. So powerful we are. So powerful we are. So if you see us coming, just know we're making a change, and we're not running. No, we're not going away. We stand together came to make a change. We came to make a change.